Oh, I forget you have VR, and I'm so jealous. What do you have on VR right now? Actually, I have forgotten to ask you this since you got it.
Yes, so I got Beat Saber and Superhot VR. Like,
how is Beat Saber?
Oh, it's so much fun, and it's a great. Like, you wouldn't think it, but it's such a great workout too. When I first got my VR headset, I was like looking up a couple of medical journals on it, and they're like an hour equivalent of VR or an hour in Beat Saber is an hour equivalent to playing tennis. So you burn anywhere to 600 to 1,200 calories as you play it. I'm like, that's great. It's like a workout without feeling like you're working out. Yes, awesome. Alex is on sale for 20%, so I think it's like $45 right now. I'm thinking about getting that. I just recently bought Gorn from the VR sale, or from the Steam sale. I also got Boneworks, which is like a physics engine kind of shooting game, so I'm really looking forward to that.
You know what you should get? I'm pretty sure this game is on VR. Subnautica.
I've heard. My problem is I do very
unless you have
Thalassophobia. No, I just do very poorly with horror games.
Oh, well, so
Subnautica you're sitting in VR.
Well,
yeah.
I won't say it's not a horror game. It's definitely gonna be scarier in VR.
Same thing to
but
Cody.
It's definitely like survival adventure with a linear story that scares the absolute shit out of you. So yeah, maybe not. Yeah, the VR jump scares, I can only imagine getting hit by a Reaper Leviathan is like stroke-inducing.
I will say, though, a game called Elite Dangerous supports VR, and God, Elite Dangerous, one is a beautiful game to begin with. In VR, just
yeah, I bet that is.
Alrighty. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the next state of the server. I put a number on that, but I have totally lost track of which state of the server we're on. Anyone who wants to dive through the history and find out, I'd be curious to see what it is.
I don't know, 2 years in, 60 years, probably number...
If we were that on schedule for state of the servers, I'd be impressed. But
let's just we already know who we are.
Alrighty, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the next day of the server. Yeah, we got quite a lot of new projects to talk about, a lot of fun stuff. I don't see too many new faces, so I'll go ahead and say we'll skip over talking about the history of Atlas and just jump into what's going on right now. If people want to just talk and chat, let me know if you want us to go back over the history, we can, but up to you guys. No? Okay. It's not too surprised. I imagine most of you have heard it a million times. So we'll go ahead and just dive on straight into things here.
I can't tell if Digger's really excited for us to skip over the history or really enthusiastic about Star Citizen.
No, he definitely wants us to skip.
I don't know what he was enthusiastic about.
Alright, well, so I guess we'll go ahead and just... let's go ahead and do promotions. Just start with promotions here. That's a good way to get started here. And man, we have a lot of people on this list here. It's as everyone knows, the server has been growing nice and healthily over the past few months, and so with that, we have a whole bunch of players who have been spending time on Atlas and becoming a part of the community. And so we're gonna go ahead and dive in here. I will say first, though, that we don't have any new staff joining the team just yet. So this is just Keeper and Vanguard nominations. So we won't spend too much time on this, and we'll use that extra time to focus on the new projects and also questions. Since last time, we didn't even get through all the questions you guys asked, so we'll try and put some more time towards that. Anyway, without further ado, we're going to dive straight into the Keepers. I will call out 4 at a time, and then ask everyone to go crazy and nuts over it, and congratulate your friends.
Just a reminder, as we're doing promotions, we will try our best to stay on top of getting your ranks in-game and on Discord. Give us a full 24 hours to get through all of them, and also message our staff if we haven't gotten to you guys. It's kind of just tedious and difficult to get to all of you at once, and we apologize.
And then harass us.
Yeah. Harass us after we failed after 24 hours. That's the plan. Alright, well anyway, diving straight in here. Our first 4 keepers are Fancy Pants, Hexta, the Cubeling, and Turpmo. Congratulations, you guys.
Hey. I
Get,
always
get
thought
all
it
the
was
claps.
the Cubling, but I could be wrong.
Oh, it's Cubeling. Well, so somebody can try the proper pronunciation here. All right, on to the next 4. The second half of that last combo. Easy Beans, Lost Nation, Warpo, and Mr. J. Congrats, you guys. Yeah, we still got more to go here. All right, next 4 on this list. Sarimo, Chicken Noob, Sir Walnut, and Mujaj. I think I got that right. I apologize if I didn't, but congratulations nonetheless. Man, Kai is on top of the clapping. You guys need to catch up. All right, on to the next 4 on this list. All right, X-Rider, 111 Ryan, Stranger Badger, Scytho Diaz, Vanilla Sky. Congratulations, you guys. Man, it looks like a Twitch chat in here. That's wonderful. But I guess we've also got Twitch chat going. You guys can spam that as well. All right, and now we've got 3 final ones on here. Last but not least, we've got Ambrini. I apologize if I got that wrong. Firemancer, and It's Stefan. All right, congratulations to all our new keepers. We appreciate all you guys playing on the server, having a good time, and becoming part of the community. And with that, we want to go ahead, move on to our Vanguards. And for those that don't know, by the way the ranks work are our keepers are players who have been playing and having fun on Atlas since the last day of the server. So they've been active players for at least about 2 months. And that's the only requirement. We just like to appreciate people who have become a part of the community. And then next, we have our Vanguards. Our Vanguards are a little bit different. They're keepers who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to not just be a part of the community, but leaders of the community who help others, are nice to new players, and kind of really help the community grow and feel like a welcoming place. And with that, we have quite a few new Vanguards, which I'm excited to go through. So I'll go through these 3 at a time, give you guys a little bit more clapping power. But moving down the list here, our first new Vanguard is Ved. Second is It's Chris. And third is Artemis. Congrats, you guys. We appreciate all you've done for the community. Alrighty. Continuing down the list, we've got Swiftwind, Silent Storm, and Aid 711. Congrats, you guys. Also appreciate everything you guys have done. Alright, a little over halfway through on the Vanguards. I'm going to butcher this next name. Tamaru-chan, Lightning Bolt, and the Last Dino. Congrats, you guys. And now for the last 2, Nuke SC and Lost Coastlines. Congrats to all our new Vanguards. We appreciate everything you guys have done for the community, and hope to see you guys around helping new players get involved and help things grow. And with that, because we don't have any new staff applications, we are going to move on to other stuff. But for the future, all our Vanguards, if you guys are interested in becoming a part of the staff team, becoming Wardens and Sentinels in the future, we encourage all of you guys to apply in the new promotions chat that you guys should have access to. And yes, that means everyone who didn't get promoted, there's a chat you couldn't see, but you already knew. All right, on to the current future projects. As for, I'll talk a few about past projects. As everyone knows, since the last day of the server, we released a whole bunch of new big projects. A lot of stuff that has helped the server become a little bit more stable. Things like diplomacy and world regeneration, and instruments as well is just added. Hopefully people are enjoying that one. But yeah, so we got a lot done over the past 2 months, and we've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming over the next 2 months and beyond. And we want to go ahead and dive into what will likely be the first release from the next set of future projects. Who wants to talk about Grand Feasts?
So I'll jump in on this one, and obviously Desert chime in because Desert has been the mastermind behind it. But our next big release is going to be Grand Feast. We've talked about Grand Feasts a bit at previous State of the Servers, vaguely, I think. But for anyone who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, Grand Feasts, originally when we released them, the idea was that they were going to be what we refer to as the anti-siege. Instead of trying to keep people out of your base during this particular period, the goal is to have as many people within your base as possible during this period. And beyond that, it's meant to be something that you throw during your player events. They're meant to be an in-game thing in which you call out, hey, we're going to have an event in our town in this period of time. We're going to call it out on the server. There's going to be a countdown clock, and then depending on different things that happen during this period and the people that are in our town, you'll get points and you'll get rewards for it in what we're calling trophies, which is similar to relics, but more on the culture front. Yeah, so the idea is that they are a big culture event that we hope, you guys end up using as a sort of framework whenever you throw player events. And the whole idea is that they're a sort of in-game way to advance as the nation. It will tie into the leaderboards. Obviously, you'll get trophies, which are similar to relics. You sort of are able to actually get sort of in-game ups from throwing your player events that you guys throw. We obviously a couple days ago released instruments, which we hope you guys are enjoying. They're definitely a lot of fun, and props to Desert for that awesome plugin, but it is going to be a part of Grand Feasts as well, which I think we mentioned. But Grand Feast is going to tie into all the sort of, quote unquote cultural things that you can do in game. Cooking food, playing instruments, throwing events, having people within the bounds of your town because you're throwing a play or you're having a tournament or you're just all of the reasons that you would come and invite these people. The more things that you can do with those people, the more you'll be rewarded, the more feast points you'll get, and the more points you'll be able to spend on getting trophies. And trophies will work in a way where, unlike relics, you won't be able to storm into someone's base and siege them and steal them. The only way to take them is to throw Grand Feasts and use your points to buy them away from other players. So the more Grand Feasts you throw, the better Grand Feasts you throw, the more points you gather, the more points you have to spend on taking trophies. So should be a lot of fun. Instruments is a big part of that. Cooking is obviously them being called Grand Feasts. Cooking is a major keystone element. Very similar to sieges, there is a prelude period, lets people prepare for the feasts. People who are attending the feast lets them know, gives them a full day notice of what it's going to be, but also gives the people who are hosting the feast time to prepare for it, cook foods, gather points in certain ways that we'll get into, in the next couple of weeks as we sort of build towards that release. But yeah, so that's Grand Feasts, kind of in a nutshell. I'm sure you guys will have questions about it in the Q&A. But like I said, we'll have more specifics on how it'll work over the next few weeks as we close in on that release.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's Grand Feasts. I'm just going down our list here. Another big thing that we're working on the creative team side is another thing that we've mentioned at previous states of the server. We are revamping Naru. We are going to have a brand new Naru that is rebuilt beautifully. It's really looking awesome. I think we posted some teaser screenshots last time. We'll have more, obviously, in the next few weeks, but not only is the city going to be rebuilt and a lot prettier visually, there's going to be brand new quest lines that move the main story forward, and you're going to get a brand new dungeon within Naru. And it is going to be not a difficult dungeon. It's going to be what we're kind of referring to as the beginner dungeon. It's kind of the dungeon that's there from when new players are in Naru. They're doing their quests, they're getting gems, starting their nation, the first few hours. It's kind of the tutorial dungeon, so to speak. It's not terribly difficult. Veteran players will very, very likely be able to solo it, but it'll be accessible very easily from the spawn city. So lots of new stuff with the new Naru update. Talking about dungeons, and I know players have questions about this. We are working on a Dungeons update. We'll talk about this a bit later with the sort of 1.15, 1.16 updates when we get into that. But there is a big Dungeons update that we are planning and that we are working on. It requires us to be in at least 1.15, which is why that's a big item on our agenda that we're currently working on the dev side, is getting all
spoilers
90 of our plugins. Whatever it is, up and working. There's a lot that goes into that. But there are a lot of Dungeons bugs that we know you guys are experiencing currently that we are aware of. We know that you get trapped in that first room of the Shen Catacombs. We know that sometimes when you kill the boss in the Shen Catacombs, the door doesn't open. Apparently sometimes when people go into Kairos, they get warped into a weird world. There's a lot of weird jankety stuff going on with DXL. And we've been working towards the new version of it that fixes a lot of that. It requires some reworking on our part, but the short of it is that a lot of those bugs that you guys have been experiencing with current Dungeons are fixed. So we are working very quickly towards that version. Something else that we are looking to move towards in that update is randomized dungeon loot. Instead of opening a chest and getting the exact same 7 gems that you get every time, dungeons have loot tables that are a little bit more randomized. You click on a chest, and instead of picking an item out of that chest, it puts something into your sort of dungeon inventory from a random loot table. And so that dungeons are a little bit less black and white when it comes to knowing exactly what you get from each. You can be, a little bit more in a range. And yeah, I just saw this out of the corner of my eye. Someone asked, is the new dungeon going to be easier than Kairos? Yes. Or somewhere on par with Kairos, but very similar. It's going to be in the easy category. Kairos is listed, I think, as easy difficulty. This is going to be easy, if not fairly easy. I don't want to say very easy, but it won't have a ridiculous amount of gems for anyone worried. It won't be something that you can just spam. And also it will be part of the 8-hour cooldown that dungeons have. So anyway, in terms of dungeons, those are our planned updates right now. Fixing the bugs, random loot. We have 2 new story dungeons planned. Obviously the one we talked about beneath Naru. We also have a harder dungeon planned that is a Elytra grappling hook dungeon, which should be a lot of fun. And then the third big dungeon update is something that Tyr has been working on, so I'll throw to him to talk about the trials.
Man, you just skipped over Cloudbreaker Fortress. That's gonna be a fun one.
That's the Elytra grappling hook one. Oh yeah, sorry, Cloudbreaker Fortress. Will be very fun. There's not too much to talk about yet. It's not too far along. Lost Tomb is farther, but yeah. If anyone has questions, feel free to shoot them at us. But just to get things moving, we'll go to the trials.
All right. In terms of trials, so I've been for the past week or so. The plugin has been in development for a lot longer, but for the past week or so, I've been really hammering away at the trials, and the trials are completely procedurally generated dungeons. The cool part about trials is that they are essentially going to be infinite. Basically, you enter the dungeon and you kind of choose when you come out, is kind of how it goes, unless of course you die. So it's completely procedurally generated. It means that for us to put out these dungeons, it's technically a little bit easier from the build standpoint, so we can definitely pump out some of these dungeons very, very quickly. But the other thing is you're going to see a lot of different configurations, and it's going to be almost always a different dungeon every time you run it, which is going to be really, really cool. So like I said, I have been working really hard this past week on getting the generation aspect complete. There's some really cool mechanics stuff in the dungeon that I've been working on that I think is going to be really cool. And the other thing that I want to mention is, real quick, that we're going to be having a sort of dev showcase where the elders are going to sit through and run one of the trials. When that is, we're not entirely sure. I still need to get quite a bit of work done, and I need to coordinate with the other elders in terms of becoming free. But yes, we will have some sort of kind of dev showcase. We'll be streaming it, and we'll kind of be talking about the different design elements and the different design concepts that kind of go into the trials a little bit. Yes, you will get to see us fail quite a bit, like Tak mentioned. Since starting Atlas, I stopped essentially playing Minecraft in general.
I'm bad at Minecraft again.
Yeah, so so that's a fun little, but so that'll be kind of you guys will get to see at least, if not the final product, something that's I guess somewhat representative of what the trials will kind of look like. It will be announced somewhere or in the announcements channel at some point. I'm currently aiming for this next weekend. If not, it'll be soon after that. So definitely look forward to that. If you guys have any questions at the end, I will answer those during our Q&A section. But I think that's about it. Is there anything else that I needed to cover in terms of trials?
No,
I can't think of anything, but like
again, so infinite replayability, and pretty much they can go on forever. So you enter a dungeon, you beat the boss, and then you go to the next level, and you rinse and repeat. And the whole point of the trials is to see who can go on for the longest. It's an endurance run. That's what they're supposed to be. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the entrance will also be in Naru. So Naru will have not only the easiest dungeon in the game, but the hardest dungeon in the game.
Yes. Again, going off of what Io just said, the trials are supposed to be difficult. They're supposed to be one of our most difficult. They have the most number of mobs, obviously, with how the system kind of works. Hopefully, they'll have some really cool puzzles as well. But overall, from a general standpoint, these are supposed to be the hardest dungeons, or the trials are supposed to be the hardest version of dungeons. So definitely look forward to those, and obviously they will be fairly rewarding as well. So yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah,
awesome.
So with that, T, take it away with religions.
Oh boy, give me like just a second. I'm trying to catch up on questions.
No, now.
Alright, well, I can dive into some of my stuff if you want to take some more time to write stuff down, or we can just give you a sec to type stuff.
No, I can do religions. Just give me a second after I do religions, people give me a second to catch up on taking notes for religions. But yes, I can talk about religions real quick. So Io will go over Naru's storyline in just a second. So when he does that, I will say that I'm kind of like behind on religions because I've been putting a lot of work into the storyline recently. But religions, as I said at the last day of the server, did have to get pushed back because I wanted to revamp the entire system, and revamp it I did. Religions now, when you go to create a religion, two central aspects of religions are going to be the tenet of the religion and the belief system of the religion. So the tenet will look like nature, war, and there's two other that I can't remember off the top of my head right now, and I'm really sorry about that.
He's super frazzled trying to keep up with all you guys' questions. By the way, everyone thank T for writing down all your questions and stuff. The Q&A wouldn't be possible without T volunteering to do that, so give him a shout out.
Yes. So yes, religions will be heavily based off of kind of like the domain. Like think of almost Dungeon and Dragon cleric domains or god domains. Kind of what I'm basing a lot of that off of. What kind of things your gods kind of preside over. And then each religion will also have a belief system. So you can have a monotheistic religion, a polytheistic religion, a elemental religion or a cult-like religion. And your religion is kind of made up of both a tenet and a belief system. And you will be able to do quest for your religion, almost like the war crest from Diplomacy, which will give you a buff for the day based off of your tenet and your belief system. If you don't want to make your own religion, which I foresee a lot of people want to, some people might not want to, there will be 4 NPC-based religions that people can join at any point in time and leave at any point in time based off of the 4 NPC-based religions that we currently have. So for the Vantians, that's the 4. They're going to have a war polytheistic religion. It'll be the Kairos religion will be, I think it's nature and elemental. The Shen will have the mother religion, which is balance and monotheism. And then you will be able to join an Archaeos-based religion, which is chaos and cultist. So I'm hoping people will have fun with joining NPC religions and finally getting to roleplay Archaeo cultist for once. But yes, religions will be coming out to you soon-ish. I don't really have a time frame for it right now. As I said, I'm working a lot on the Naru storyline stuff. But yeah, I'm hoping that people are excited for all the new changes coming to religions, especially since that cursed plugin finally needs to get done by somebody. But
yeah. So many devs have fallen to that plugin.
Because I see this question now, there's no point waiting on it. Religions are going to be player-based mostly. There will have some interaction with nations, but they will be mostly player-based. So,
all right, sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, well, it sounds like you throw it back to Io for the new Naru storyline, if there's anything you want to talk about there.
Yeah, so something I wanted to, T reminded me, totally forgot, thank you, T. So one big thing with New Naru is there is going to be the progression of I'll call it the main quest line that's on Atlas right now. For those of you, and I know some of you at least, have completed one, if not all 3 of the main quest lines. When we do release New Naru, there will be a whole bunch of new quests that move the story forward and bridge the gap between the 2 major quest lines of Atlas, the second half of War of Aethera being the future quest lines that we're coming out with that will close that story. But it should be a lot of fun. Those quests will tie into the brand new dungeon that's going to be in New Naru. It'll move the story forward in terms of, taking into account the fact that you guys branded us terrorists at the last lore event. It'll take into the account of, the progression of the war and the fact that new political factions have arisen within Naru that are challenging the elders, and the population is getting big, and there's sort of a lot of internal conflict happening within Naru that's moving them towards this direction of really having to join the war. So should be a lot of fun. There'll be a whole bunch of new quests with some sub-quest lines. Like I said, tied into the dungeon, and then that'll be the bridge that leads into the whole conclusion of the War of Aethera. So should be a lot of fun. Story, team's hard at work working on that for the new Naru release. So that'll be released at the same time that the new Naru build is. So it'll be a whole thing.
Cool.
So yeah.
All right. All right. So I got some stuff to talk about now. It's I spoiled it a little bit, but one of the big things on the table right now that we're working on, and this is a big one, it's actually a massive effort between all the devs to get done, is we are going to be updating to the most recent version. If this state of the server had taken place last week, I would have said 1.15, but with 1.16 out and the response from the development community, it looks like we'll be able to update almost immediately just to 1.16 instead. Now, I know the biggest thing that players are interested in is Nether stuff. This hit us so fast that we actually haven't had enough time to come up with plans for the Nether. So I know that that's the first questions everyone's got, but we have more than enough stuff that we need to add before we even get to the Nether. And it's small stuff like making Brewery use barrels, to other things like revamping plugins like Smeltery and Tannery to have new systems based on it. There's a lot of new things that we want to do with 1.15 coming out that will make the server more efficient, that'll do a lot of stuff. So no new Nether just yet, but we will be going to 1.16, and we will be capitalizing on a lot of the new blocks that we get from 1.14, 1.15, and 1.16. And with that, I will dive straight into the smeltery tannery updates, some of the more specific things you can look at for some of the plugins that are going to get updated. The big one, and we mentioned this at the last day of the server, was the smeltery tannery updates. One of the big things that I know people are looking for is, right now, smeltery and tannery don't actually have a strong tie-in to the magic system. Well, those plugins haven't received significant updates since we got Simple Magic. And so Tyr and I have been working hard to create a system of integration so that smeltery and tannery can be used to both buff magic and nerf magic. So, for example, if you want magic to affect you less, you don't want to be scared of mages running around, there will be armors you can wear that allow you to do that. And if you want to make your magic more powerful or allow it to help you, there are going to be armors that you can wear to do that. And that's just one part of it. Beyond that, smeltery and tannery, for those that have been around a while, probably remember the time when the recipes for those plugins were hidden and you had to figure them out. Well, we ended up declassifying those recipes a while ago because we didn't want Atlas to be just a spreadsheet simulator. We know that some things still have that, but we think that those things are plenty. We don't need to add more to the list of spreadsheeting you need to do to beat Atlas, especially in terms of things that directly support your ability to fight. We want those to be handled a little differently. And so ever since that declassification, we've had plans to change the way smeltery and tannery work to make them still interesting and not just an extra unnecessary step. And so what you're going to see is that smeltery and tannery are no longer going to be passive. And by passive, I mean put the things in, come back later. It's not going to be that way. Instead, you're going to actually have to work with your forges and work with your materials and have a level of skill to actually produce the things that you want. And so now there will be a level of players who actually spend the time to get really good at this stuff and being a part of your nation or being a real asset. And these are going to take a variety of different ways to make this happen, because there are lots of there's lots of ways we can add skill checks into the skills and make them interesting, but we also want to avoid everything being exactly the same. And so for smeltery, you can expect two specific types of skill checks. One will be that while things are forging, you need to remove impurities from them. You need to repair your forges you're going. You basically have to watch your forges, pay attention to visual, vocal cues, and also check on forges constantly to make sure that you're going to get what you want. If you don't have the experience of guarding your stuff, or you get lazy and you leave, you might still get your materials, but they'll be lower quality. And lower quality materials means that you won't get some of the interesting things that will come out of recipes. The second part of skill checks for smeltery will be being able to properly temper your metals, which will take the form of a skill check that's actually an entire basically mini game inside of a chess GUI. That people are aware that we use chess GUIs for all different kinds of menus, so we're actually going to have a mini game that takes place inside of one. And then finally, what the other part of smeltery, you heard me talk about quality. You will be able to now create, instead of dealing with partial recipes and all that stuff, if you successfully make your metal, it will have a quality attached to it. If it's low quality, your metal will actually lose one of the properties that it gets, one of the good qualities, or it might accumulate a bad quality. If it's regular, decent quality, it'll be exactly what you currently have. However, if you're really good, you will be able to make masterwork materials. And masterwork materials will come with an extra random property attached. Or they might remove one. So for example, a lot of you know that titanium is pretty great. Well, you could get titanium, except you could get the bluntness removed if you make masterwork titanium. Something like that. Now, this isn't all entirely set in stone, but this is what we've agreed is probably the right direction to take. I can't promise that this will be done before the next state of the server, because the updates to 1.16 are incredibly difficult, and we're going to be spending a lot of time on that. But that is what we're going to be working towards. Tannery is going to get a similar system to smeltery. However, the skill checks will be different. They're going to be more puzzle-based, but they will have a similar thing applied to them. And so this way, players who are really good with these plugins can create items that other players couldn't. And it'll give people the ability to aim for much more interesting items instead of just what's currently available. And so hopefully that kind of stuff sounds interesting to you guys. Now, currently, we're only planning to revamp Smeltery and Tannery in this way. We have talked about updates to things like Fletchery and others, but they don't currently include the level of revamp for skill-based stuff. If you guys have ideas, feel free to post them in the forums. We're always looking for interesting ideas. But yeah, so that's that. And the final thing that I'm going to talk about, the final thing on this long list of projects, hopefully everyone so far has found something to be hyped about, something interesting coming in the future. But if not, maybe this next one will help you out. So, leaderboards. We're going to be doing a bit of a leaderboard rework. Now, don't worry, we're not going to change the way the leaderboards work entirely, because most of the stuff on them works pretty well, with some very apparent exceptions that we know that you guys are aware of. Things like the enchantment leaderboards, things like the training leaderboard that doesn't work, the lore leaderboards that we thought we would update that we never have time to. We're going to end up phasing out a lot of these old skills and adding in new ones. We've got a whole bunch of new mechanics that are going to easily fill those slots. Things like magic can now easily take the place of enchanting. Things like our wars and stuff like that can easily take the place of some of the stuff that's on the current list. Holding relics can be on there. Throwing grand feasts can be on there. We have a lot of new things that we want to add to the leaderboards that won't either be broken or have no information at all. So we're going to add all those things to the leaderboards. And with that, we're going to implement something that we mentioned at the last day of the server called the Aetheran Council. And the Aetheran Council is going to be a way to give the players who top the leaderboards an ability to affect the server. And essentially what will happen is each player on the leaderboards will get points to vote towards an Aetheran Council. And that Aetheran Council will allow you to vote on policies that affect the entire server for the next entire month. Now, those policies won't allow you to target and destroy nations specifically, but they will allow you to, give yourself the benefits of stuff. Things that you're going to want to do, you can get those benefits. Like, for example, increase 20% of woodcutting outcome. So, if you're going to be cutting a lot of wood, well, you can go ahead and vote for a policy that allow everybody to get more wood from woodcutting, but if you're going to need it more, well, there you go. Now, there's lots of other things that can go on that list. We're still filling out that list. It's not fully complete yet. We're always looking for ideas. But yeah, that's the basic idea. We want to give people a real benefit to topping the leaderboards and being the top nations in Aetheran. So look forward to being on the Aetheran Council. Now, for those of you that remember the last day of the server, we had a vote between the Smeltery and Tannery updates and the Aetheran Council. Don't worry, we haven't forgotten about that. The Smeltery Tannery updates will come before the Aetheran Council, but both of those things are very much in the works and coming up soon. Mm-hmm. And with that, we have gotten through the entire list of projects. I know we went through it fast. We wanted to get through it fast. We didn't want anyone to get bored. And we know that you guys have had a lot of questions in the past. And if you guys have just as many questions this time, we want to have enough time to go over them. But hopefully there's enough stuff there to ask questions about. And so with that, it's time to open it up to the Q&A. And T, where's that list?
I'm still working on it, but it's there. It's on the second page.
Oh, look at that. Beautiful.
Questions. Yeah, page.
Okay.
Where this is 5 down here.
So we'll go ahead and dive straight in. For those that don't know where this list is, you can find it. It's linked at the top in notes for the State of the Server channel. And if you don't want to go look at the document, I'm going to read all the questions before I answer them, or whoever answers them, so you'll be able to know what questions we're responding to. And without further ado, dive in straight into the questions. Actually, one thing I do want to mention before we get here. I know some people have noticed the lag over the past few days. That's just trumped our list. We're going to fix that. That is going to likely get fixed tonight. We apologize for the lag, and we're going to get rid of that. So anyone who's been worried about that or is going to ask questions about that, yeah, we're going to fix that. That's currently at the top of the list. All right, so on to the questions. Relics. Will there be relic buffs? I'm probably going to need, if somebody has more information on that.
I will just jump in here and say relics are going to get another look at. We are going to revisit relics. I know that there are some, we are aware some players value over others. There are some that players are like, this is in the don't even bother category.
Okay.
So in terms of relics, especially now that we're coming out with trophies, which are the Grand Feast version of relics, relics are going to get another look at. We are going to revisit that. We know the range of are they worth it varies much larger than it should. So the answer to that question is yes. I don't know. I wouldn't call them buffs, but they are going to get reworked for sure.
Yeah. All right, cool. So will there be farming price buffs? So there's going to be, along with some of the fixes and stuff that are coming out for lag, one of the things that we're going to work out, which is kind of a mini new thing, and I'll go ahead and mention that here because it applies. Some of the lag is being caused by an increase in entities, tile entities, farms, pigs, animals, item frames, all this stuff. And the problem is that we have so many massive towns with so many players that there's just so many of these things. And so we are going to have to start putting some limits on those. And so I know people are always scared about limits, but there actually are a lot of upsides to limits. And I'll go ahead and give you guys some examples. For one, with farms and stuff like that, when we put a limit on the amount of stuff that you can grow, it means that we can get an exact number or a very good average of the amount of things that you can grow. And as a result, we can make sure to balance them explicitly with the economy, as opposed to looking at a worst case scenario where you have a farm just full of an unbelievable amount of wheat or something. And so it is very likely that you actually will see farming price buffs once we're able to put some of those limits in, because then we know that they can't be abused or taken advantage of because we can look at the numbers. So yes, it is very likely that you will see farming price buffs. Along with that, by the way, you'll also likely see buffs to things like animals and pigs and stuff with a limit on those. By the way, another thing with the limit on animals, we're going to increase what the animals drop. We're not trying to decrease the amount of stuff you get, we're just trying to decrease the amount of lag. So we prefer you guys have 1/4 the amount of animals and then drop 4 times as much stuff. So that's another thing to look forward to in the future with those. All right, will there be a selling wood price buff? Maybe.
That one,
I mean,
that
we haven't
one
thought
I'll
about
take.
that one.
Well, that one
Okay.
I'll take at the moment. For the moment, no. And the reason for that is specifically because of the recent implementation of world regeneration and the fact that priority chunks regenerate their trees. Wood selling in general is not supposed to be the most profitable thing. It's supposed to be something that is more accessible. And you don't get the most gems from it, but it's something that is an easier way to get gems if you need gems in a pinch, i.e. the blocks that regenerate directly outside of NPC towns where you can go and gather wood and sell that wood. We can look at it, of course. There will be a lot of, looks again at the economy when we, introduce things like the smeltery and the tannery updates. We've got to revamp, but we'll look at Mythic Loot again. I mean, we're always looking to work on the economy, but currently there are no plans specifically to buff wood, because it was never really meant to be the most profitable thing. It was just supposed to be meant to be an easy way to get gems for players who were in a bind.
Yeah. All right, next one. Will XP cost for repairing be removed? Currently, what happens is you have your normal XP costs every time you repair your item in an anvil. However, it now caps at 31. So you can keep an item alive forever and just repair it at 31 levels of XP every time. And we have no plans to remove it. We think that is a totally fair thing to do. And so, yeah, no plans to change that one. All right, agriculture. Will berries be fixed? So I have heard about this bug. Many people have mentioned it to me. However, at the same time, I have been unable to repeat it, and I've been working with players that have experienced the bug and trying to figure it out. I currently don't have enough information to actually know what's wrong. And so once we're able to create a repeatable pattern that allows berries to be broken, or if any of you guys know what the problem is, or can make berries grow, but also know what to do to make them not grow, please tell me. That's the information, that's the missing information I need to be able to go and address the berry issue. So if you're interested in growing berries and using them for brewing and stuff like that, if you figure out what allows them to grow and what doesn't, let me know, because there's definitely a bug there, but we just can't repeat it, so we can't address it. All right, next one. When will the town railroad stations be available? So this is something that we've been talking about a lot. this definitely won't happen until after 1.16, because we know that builders will have to go through the towns. They want to do updates to add all the new 1.15 added blocks, 1.14, 1.16. So after that's done is when you can start to expect that stuff. And I know some players want to see that stuff earlier, but we only have so much dev time, and it makes sense for us to combine projects like the 1.16 Passover that needs to happen with the building of things like that. So we're trying to maximize our time, make sure that we can do the most for you guys, but as a result, sometimes projects need to be lumped together and get a little bit delayed, but hopefully it won't be too long. I mean, 1.16 is on top of our list. So yeah, hopefully that'll happen at some point. Just can't give you an exact date on it. Will sapling and fruit drop rates be buffed? Honestly, no. We don't have any plans to address that right now. If they're really low and somebody has... Actually, I know what the numbers are. The numbers of fruit drops are the same as apples. And that was always the point, was for them to be equal with apples. Now, I know that leaves don't decay, and that's the reason that players have trouble getting them. And so if that is something that becomes an issue, maybe we can address that. But in the future, we might actually be to enable leaf decay and allow the stuff to happen. But we'll see. Right now, there are no plans for that. Anyway, on to the next question. Any changes to sieges, diplomacy, or nations at all?
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a rather massive question.
Are you doing anything?
And so, to answer such a question like this, I will go ahead and name some of the main things. But again, this is a very open-ended question. If you have more specifics about this stuff, feel free to ask the questions later. But in terms of sieges, we are making some changes to sieges just to make them more in tune with what we envisioned. And these are more fixes than anything else. It's not meant to change the mechanics. They're just more like bug fixes. I won't talk about them in too much detail, but yeah, there's just some bug fixes that we want to address there. As for diplomacy, the big thing everyone talked about diplomacy is the map stuff. It looks like trade stuff is fixed now, but the map stuff is still broken. And you'd actually be shocked how much time I've spent trying to get that fixed. But the problem is that the documentation for this third-party plugin is so vague and unhelpful that without getting in contact with the main developer, there's very little we can do to fix it without spending an obscene amount of time. And it's just not worth the obscene amount of time, especially when I could finish the 1.16 updates in that time. And I imagine you guys would prefer to have 1.16 updates than the map stuff. And so that's the route we're going with. But eventually, hopefully, I will get in contact with the dev, and then I can get that stuff figured out. And finally, the last thing on this super open-ended questions, nations. There is actually one big thing being worked on by nations, and we're calling it nation GUIfication. For those that know what GUIfication is, we're adding GUIs to it all, which is user interfaces for all of the nation's commands that we can. And Tyr is spearheading that project and working on that. And that way you guys don't have to remember a million weird commands. It'll all be in GUIs. You can navigate it all very easily, do stuff. There's some great stuff that Tyr already has finished, but we're still working on polishing that and adding more to it. But that is something that will be coming in the future. And those are the basic things for those. But yeah, go ahead and ask specifics if you guys have more specifics later on.
Yeah. I'll jump in here, take the next few. Brewery, when will bugged recipes be fixed? We are aware of the brewery recipes that are bugged currently.
I can probably answer that question the best.
Yeah, actually, go for
Once the plugin gets a 1.16 update, those things will be able to be fixed. Now, just to make a distinction, the brewery 1.16 update will come after the 1.16 update. The reason is that we want to just get all the plugins working with 1.16, which is already a big enough task, before we actually start to change them to incorporate the new features that are involved. So this won't come with the 1.16 update. In general, it will come with a specific brewery 1.16 update, and those things will be addressed and fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's just figure that one out.
As far as can you siege while in a grand feast? Great question. No. You will not be able to siege a grand feast. As cool as it would be to have a red wedding type event where a feast goes sour, the reality is, unfortunately, if you are throwing a grand feast in an event, very likely the defenders are not planning on being attacked and ambushed and murdered at their event. So no, that will not be a possibility. They will be separate from sieges. The two will not be able to happen, simultaneously.
Yeah. All right. And so one question we missed, actually. what would you think of adding an item perk that lets you have 1 or 2 soulbound items? I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you guys a slight, just little hint at something. I'm not going to talk any more about it, even if you ask questions, because it's still very early in development. As in, it's like last on the list of these things to the point we didn't even want to mention it. Keep an eye out for future enchants. But yeah, that's all I'll say about that one.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
When will Quartz and Dark Prismarine be added to the shop? Also, Wander Conduits. Would that be possible? Quartz and Dark Prismarine, yes, we will add it to the shops for sure. It's not as easy as just slapping it on there. We got to balance it a little bit. But yeah, they will, at the very least, Quartz and Dark Prismarine, we can for sure add to the rare materials shops. So if we don't, if I don't do that in a week or two, people can ping me and be like, hey, when's this happening? Because it's should be fairly easy. But things like water conduits and other items that actually aid in doing things beyond just being kind of like a building material are going to require a little effort. I'm sure you guys are aware we don't just throw items in willy-nilly that are available. Not every vanilla Minecraft item is available. That doesn't mean we never plan to release it. It just means that, vanilla Minecraft doesn't really have any sort of balancing. So, building materials, we're happy to for you guys. Things that, work into, brand new shiny items that Mojang no eye for balancing anything. Might take a little more time on our end. So, yes, that is that. On the next one, Yukio, when will Shen and Devshire Dungeon get their own unique armor? They are planned. I can't really give an ETA at the moment, but they will have their own. Like obviously, Kairos and Dragonfell, Shen and Devshire were always planned to have their own dungeon armor set that had its own kind of unique perks that you can only get with that, purchasable with dungeon currency. So yes, we will be adding those. See, with future dungeons, we'll be adding dungeon armor sets for those as well.
All right, awesome. On to the next one here. Oh man, gosh, so many questions. So Tyr has discussed expanding magic. What will that include? Well, that's a question for Tyr if he wants to answer it.
So I'll take that one real quick. So in terms of expansion of magic, it should be noted that there are about 220 different spell effects that are possible with Magic plugin as they are. About 40 to 50 are filled up, and I think 36 or something, or a smaller number, are kind of known to the public via the common spells. And so what as part of the 1.15 update is, what I'm going to be doing is expanding a little bit, hopefully bumping it up to 100 of the spell effects being filled in. There's also going to be, like Ajax talked about, the smeltery and tannery rework to work with magic. There's going to be some realignment of certain words and certain words affecting which effects get basically used. So that's kind of what's in that. Other than that, maybe you guys at the Rivian pool party, I teased a little image, part of the GUIfication, and I think this answers a future question as well, but words are now, the maximum number of words are now 7 for spells, and along with that, I also altered some of the values that you get out of particular words for modifying those spells. The reason I did this was with 8 words, it just became a game of, well, which words or hyper optimize everything. You just kind of slap them on. I wanted a little bit more thought going into, selecting which words to use specifically. And so that is kind of what, at least that's what I have planned for that. So yeah, already, I don't know if you the last update for Magic in updates was that the 7 words is already there. That's already done. And some of the values for certain words have been rebalanced. There's going to be further rebalancing. So I'll let you guys know once that update kind of goes live. But that's why you may have seen a few changes to how Magic is behaving currently.
Cool.
Yep.
Alrighty, on to the next one. Will some current allies change to the Netherite skin in the future? So I actually didn't even think about this, but this is a fantastic idea. Again, this is just an example of how much 1.16 has snuck up on us. This hasn't even occurred to me yet, but I think it's a great idea, and it will probably now be included because someone brought it up. So yeah, that's the power of asking good questions at State of the Server. So yeah, there you go. Shops. Will the non-PvE currency methods ever get buffed? Oh yeah, this sounds like an Ion question. Take it away.
Yeah, some of my players who aren't good at PvE generate considerably less. We can look at it for sure. If you have specific ideas of how you would want PvP specific, so you know, sieges, of course, currently you can still take some loot by sieging someone. I don't know if a PvP centric style of gathering income would be you could win money from winning duels and some sort of betting system. Or,
I think.
I mean, I don't know if there's some sort of ideas. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, I think this question is specifically asking for more like farming or gathering wood, or I think it's more along the lines of gathering. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's what they're talking about because I think instead of PvE, I think what they're specifically going at is combat. Combat-based money-making methods.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, obviously mythic loot is combat-based. It's PvE for sure, but it is more fighting-based. It seems like this question is asking more about like player versus player, money making of can I make money by killing other players?
No, I think we could spend all day discussing the question in the future, but what I'll say, which I think might be the answer to this, is people want other skills that are just as valued as fighting. And yes, things like the new Smelter and Tannery reworks will add those types of skills in that players can focus on. And those will give players alternatives that they can focus on that will hopefully give a lot of replayability, that will be interesting, and allow you to generate money for your nations if you're good at something. However, whoever asked that question, ask it again with a little bit more specification, and hopefully we can answer it is specifically what you mean.
Yeah, I guess I'm not quite non-PvE. I guess is a broad category. We'd love to hear more about what whoever asked this was thinking in terms of ways to gather money.
So this next one, the will the custom resource pack affect sounds? If so, can we add music to this? So one thing for sure is that we are looking to have a resource pack with the update to 1.16. That's just one of the things that becomes much more possible with the update. And we have definitely thought about adding sounds. And so we will likely add some sounds to the game. Maybe when you're inside your town, you'll have like some town background stuff, like the sound of, somebody working on a blacksmith in the background, some carts rattling around, something like that. Add some background noises and stuff. None of it's set in stone, but yeah, we can have that kind of stuff, and we've definitely thought about it. All right, next one here. Could we get magic items, consumable items that require no XP or wands to use, get used up when activated, sort of like runes or amulets or whatnot? We haven't really discussed it yet. It's not off the table, though. But yeah, it's a cool idea. But unfortunately, we can't give you too much info on that one since we just really haven't discussed it and such. So we'll have to pass on that one a little bit. But feel free to write up a forum post with your ideas about it. But yeah. Okay, looks like T is answering this next question. So I'll just start reading, and then I'll start reading T's answer. One of the main reasons that Magic can't be equal with the other skill tree.
This is a different question. I thought I was answering the last question.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Okay.
I think this question though. So this question is one of the main reasons why magic can't be equal to other skill trees is that the fact that the person can show up in full war gear they spend a day making, while person B can show up with a ton of spells with the same war gear. Will there ever be anything to compensate for that fact? And the smeltery tannery rework to work with magic a little bit better is going to definitely address this without really taking away from the uniqueness and the power of magic. We want to still allow magic to still be powerful, and which is why we brought up this idea of counters. And you may have heard Ajax and I kind of discussing it in the public chats a little bit, but there is going to be some counters to specific types of magic, and basically, you know, the ability for you to dampen or increase, dampen somebody else's magic on you, or increase your, efficiency or effectiveness in terms of magic. So hopefully that will kind of answer that question, but definitely the smeltery tannery rework for simple magic is definitely going to address this issue.
Yep. All right, on to the next one here. Lore and world building. What makes the Dream Isles float? I definitely want to harness it to make a lightsaber.
You just wanted sweet, sweet crystals. So the short answer for that, without getting into it, because we could derail and go into a whole thing. The Dream Isles are actually of the Tossakram, which is for those of you who know the lore, the spell that turned the Grey Isles into the mushroom nightmare that it is currently. Beyond that, I won't get too into it. We will very likely address that and the Windswept in future quest lines that tie into the main story, because I know they're a little bit less dealt with in the lore. But yes, that's the answer to that.
And I am almost positive the person that asked that question didn't expect us to have an answer for it. So I bet they're like, oh crap, there's actually a reason. That was
definitely want to make a lightsaber out of it.
Alright, Misk. Could alchemy perhaps be reworked to be similar to real-life chemistry? Useful potions would be rendered unrealistic, but various splash potions would be cool. Think Molotov cocktails, chemistry, all that stuff. So we actually have had some general dev talks just about what we could do with alchemy in the future. Again, this is something that we didn't even think to mention as a part of the official state of the server, because like things like enchants, it's been discussed, but it's so far in the future, or at least so far out of what we discussed, that we don't have any specific ideas. But a lot of the ideas around alchemy have just been expanding the range of potions and types of potions you can make, and having it be like magic or cooking, where you just try a lot of different combinations and see what comes out of it. But as for reworking it to add like Molotov cocktails and stuff like that, I'm not sure if we're going to do that. Molotov cocktails have a little bit of a different feel than what Atlas is going for. But yeah, I mean, if you've got ideas in terms of, very fantasy medieval potions that could be added that aren't currently there, we can totally do that. And
someone's just gonna repitch that idea as Greek fire.
Well, I mean, 1.16 did add Soulfire, so we're already halfway there.
That's actually really interesting. Huh. All right. Is there an ETA on removal of prox tags in the new system? So yeah, it's as you guys have noticed, by the way, there's so many projects that are currently being worked on. It's been a little bit tough to prioritize exactly what we want to get done first. And so there is a decent amount of code that's already written to handle all this stuff, but it just hasn't been finished yet, and we're constantly debating on whether or not this should take priority over 1.16, or if there's other things that should go on. But so I'm not going to be able to give you an exact ETA, but it is further towards the top of the priority list than things like the smeltery and tannery rework, more around the level of the 1.16 stuff and that update overall. So yeah, not a specific ETA, but a general idea of its current priority status. Has there been more thought about a custom head luxury shop? There hasn't been more thought with all the projects going on. Again, it's just lots of stuff going on, but it also hasn't left our minds either.
Yeah,
we still want to do this.
I'll say the priority in terms of luxury items, the reason we haven't put a lot of thought recently into custom luxury heads is because the luxury item we've been prioritizing is instruments, which we just released a couple days ago. Now that is out, we can of course revisit that, but we obviously wanted to prioritize instruments because it's a bit more of a unique mechanic rather than visual. So
cool.
Yeah.
All right, next one. Does the trials take like parts of all dungeons, or is it always general dungeon themed? So it's going to have multiple themes. It's actually specifically built to be able for us to create different textures and themes for it, but it's not going to be parts of all the other dungeons. It is going to be its own unique dungeon, and it is likely as you get further and further through the dungeon, each new floor may have a different theme. So it's going to feel kind of like an infinity dungeon in that sense. We may pull inspiration from the existing dungeons, but we're not going to pull anything specifically, and you're not just going to run through the floor of like one of the Kishen catacombs or something. That won't happen. So everything will be unique, maybe a little bit of ideas taken from places. Mythic Mob's trial question.
Any possibility of a mob that grows stronger each player it kills, similar to a trial, but a single boss reward skill as well, has been balanced? So that's interesting for sure.
I don't think this is currently possible with the tech that we have.
Within Mythic Mobs, it's not really a possibility. As cool as an idea as it is, it would require a custom plugin within itself that is not possible within Mythic Mobs. So, love the idea. I don't think it's possible within Mythic Mobs currently, but we'll keep it in mind if they ever up something like this.
I'm going to take this next question because it's going to give me an open talk about something that I always like to bring up here and again. Can I get infinitely rich from doing the trials? I mean, the short answer is, yes. But the reason that the answer is yes is because, you can do anything and get instantly rich because there are shops and ways to make money from everything. The biggest idea behind the economy on Atlas is that time equals value. And so there should be no way for you to go be idle, be offline, go do something else, and some method produce you any significant amount of money. There should be a fairly concrete time equals value constant in there, and the trials will be no different. Now, the trials will be difficult, and you can definitely make some decent money from it, but it's not like it's going to be the only real way to make money, right? There's going to be other options. And if you get really good at other options and other ways of doing things, you'll be able to make money. So no, the trials is not meant to be the new meta for making money. So no, don't worry about that becoming an issue. So I'm gonna let Tyr take this question. This is just totally magic stuff. Tyr will have the best insight on it.
Yeah, sorry. So magic update. Like I said, with the 7-word limitation, it did not. Like I said, I rebalanced some of the words, and there's going to be further rebalancing of those words with the 1.16, I guess, update. Yeah, with the smeltery tannery stuff, I'm going to be, once I have my hands on that, and I'm going to start to look really at how things kind of feel, what kind of spell combination. Obviously, I have my own spell combinations that I use, how those get affected, and kind of see where kind of magic stands. And I kind of want it to be the initial goal with magic was never to be that it is the only way to combat on Atlas. It was rather supposed to be an option for combat. So, bringing that in line with all the other forms of combat, whether that be a sword, whether that be an axe, whether that be a trident, or whether that be a sickles or, archery, whatever you choose, they should kind of, be around the same area in terms of how powerful or how weak they are. So that's going to be my answer for that one.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
Alright, skill updates. When Smeltery and Tannery are updated, what will become of our existing materials and gear? So that's part of the update process. There shouldn't be any changes to your current gear. In general, we think that the balance of Smeltery and stuff works. As a matter of fact, we even think that the magic balance on the items work. It's just that the magic attribute itself doesn't work well. So that's going to get updated, but in general, we're not going to make any changes to the materials. We might add some new ones, but we're not going to make any big changes to the materials. However, with the existence of the poor quality and high quality materials, you will be able to create essentially new, more powerful versions of the items and stuff that exist. So you will be able to use that to create new stuff. But don't worry, none of your current stuff is going to break. That is all specifically being preserved, so you don't have to worry about having to recreate your arsenals or anything like that. So skill quests.
Yeah, I can take this next one. Will quests tie in with Tannery and Smeltery, like learn a new recipe or something? This is actually something we have talked about in the past. Of obviously revamping Smeltery and Tannery is something that has been being worked on for a while on the dev side. One of the ideas that we had was that you learn recipes by, you do this quest, you learn hard leather. You do this quest, you learn studded leather. You learn this quest, you learn fang skin. But the reason that we're not, and the answer to this is we are not gating Smeltery and Tannery behind quests for the specific reason that we've learned that, just like a lot of players don't like certain gameplay aspects being majorly gated behind PvP, the other side of the spectrum doesn't necessarily really enjoy skills being gated behind quests, because not everyone really likes quests. And while it may seem like a natural way to progress and learn things, it's really not everyone's cup of tea. And we really don't want to shoehorn people into, we have quests that give rewards. But also, if you want to learn Smeltery, you have to do quests. But also, if you want to learn Tannery, you have quests. We want to have these things exist as their own separate skills in, the ways that Ajax was talking about with how Smeltery is going to work, where they will actually require a unique type of in-game GUI-based skill to be a good smelter, to be a good tanner, as opposed to, again, gating them behind quests, which are not necessarily in terms of what they want to do on this. And we don't want to really, turn away players who are interested in Smeltery but don't necessarily enjoy doing quest after quest after quest to unlock certain things. They just want to explore something and get good at Smeltery as its own concept, its own mechanic.
Cool. All right, next one. Will there be more spells that let you parkour and stuff? Well, that sounds like a tier question.
In terms of movement spells, currently there is no plans for it. There may be some things that kind of come up. I remember there being a suggestion that TechWarrior made about potentially buffing or reworking the grappling hook to kind of bring that in line with what the community is calling the yeet spell. But currently there are no plans for kind of helping with that. But we'll see. It might come up while I'm kind of working on expansion to the different effects.
Cool. All right, next one. Will there be updates to make cooking and brewing cooler too? So honestly, we think that cooking and brewing are already really cool. And with their new tie into Grand Feast, they're going to have even more reason to be used and worked on and stuff. And part of the reason for that is that cooking is, we might add some small things, but currently they're not meant to be a part of it. Cooking is meant to be something where, you try combining lots of different ingredients. The fun of cooking is seeing what you can do with all the different ingredients that you have. And it's not meant to necessarily be super skill intensive, but more of a creative discovery process. And with brewery, it's similar, but obviously brewery has more specific recipes. And again, it's meant to be more of a discovery process. And we know that that's what Smeltery and Tannery used to be as well, but we felt that we were doing that just a little bit too much. Everything was doing it is a little bit too repetitive, and so that's why we moved away from that for some of the other skills. But we do still think it's a good idea. And so things like cooking and brewery are still going to implement those ideas for now. It is possible that'll change in the future, but they're not currently planned to be changed. If people really want changes and we come up with good ideas, well then anything's possible. Can you write a project list somewhere? For those that are curious, that project list is in the document with all the questions in it. You can read a little bit about all the projects that are currently being worked on, and this document will be listed. It's already listed in the state of the server notes at the top, but when we close this channel after the state of the server, it will be the last thing posted. So it will be available all over the place, at least for the next week or so. If you don't get to the next week or so, we're going to actually remember to upload state of the server to YouTube this time. So if you want to go back through and watch it, yeah, we're gonna actually do it this time. We're not gonna forget and then get timed out by Twitch and lose the video. No, we're gonna do it this time. But yeah, so everything will be listed, and of course, we're talking about this stuff. We can always talk about it a little bit more in the future if people have questions. All right, next one. Nation's website. How high is fixing the online plot claiming map on the priority list? So, other elders, do we want to talk about the new solution to this or no?
It may or may not actually go live. I don't remember if I actually put it in tonight because I was fixing other stuff with Atlas Machinations add-on.
Oh, okay.
So I guess we can just talk about it because the thing is we have to do it anyway. So I mean, might as well. Yeah. It's a pretty small change.
I'll go ahead and talk about this one. So this is another little small feature update. So we've it's been something that's been debated for quite a long time. And the dev ideas about it have finally shifted in a new direction, and we have come to the conclusion that the idea of buying plots, the very tedious process of going to the plot that you want and finding it and clicking on it and claiming each individual plot, is kind of archaic. It was created years and years ago with factions. They originally created that idea, and then everybody just kind of copied it and went with it. And I mean, well, so did we. But we don't want to stick with that system anymore. And in fact, we've come up with a new system, a new way of doing things, that's going to strike a bit more of a balance between the creative control for a town and its shape, but also making it easier to expand your town and be new player friendly. And so what you're going to experience in the future is, instead of claiming plots for your town, you're going to expand your town. And specifically, when you expand your town, you're going to expand it in a direction through a GUI that's going to be provided in-game. You can expand north, south, east, west, and obviously, if your town is not a rectangle, how do you expand in one of these directions? The first thing you have to do is regularize the shape of your town. And that will be something that you'll be able to do for your town if it's not currently in a rectangular shape. And that will be the first step to being able to expand. Now, we know some players are very attached to being able to build your town in the shape of a penis or something. We're just not going to keep that around. I know some people want a massive amount of customization, but it requires an entire damn website system to be able to use. And we just don't want to have that anymore. We want simple in-game tools that are powerful and effective. And so that's what we're going to switch to. And we have all the tools to allow you guys to regularize and expand your towns. And so, yeah, I'm not sure if it'll be everyone's favorite, but it is going to simplify the process. It's going to allow us to not have to worry about upkeeping such complicated systems. It's not going to require you guys to go to the website just to claim your stuff and understand it. So, yeah, that's what's coming in the future with that. As you guys heard Tyr say, it might be uploaded tonight. We'll see. Yeah. So, if it's not uploaded tonight, it will be coming soon. And again, that's something that's kind of a part of the GUIfication of nations, basically making nations easier to use. So yeah. Alright, Diplomacy War. This is a good one for me. During war, you can die to the enemy nation player once, but after that, you can just kill them without dying, because they can only kill you once. So, if I understand this question correctly, someone is claiming that if I died, now they can't kill me again, but I can go kill them. Yes, that is entirely true. Yeah. However, and yeah, now they've got to run away from you because you can kill them. Yes, that is totally the point. And so, if you're in a war, you kill someone, don't bother them anymore. As a matter of fact, watch out for them retaliating against you. And again, because items don't really drop, it's not that big a deal if they kill you. It's just a way to get points. So it's a little bit of cat and mouse. You go kill people, and then make sure they don't kill you back. And for those that are asking, I see a lot of people asking, what's the point of that? So you have to remember that the whole point of Diplomacy War is to strike a balance between allowing you to prove a level of military superiority without allowing somebody to go to the point of ruining somebody's gameplay. And it's fairly easy for a nation with all the power in the world to ruin a small nation's gameplay by camping. If you can just kill people over and over again, well, then you're going to effectively prevent them from playing the game. The best option they've got is to log off or die consistently. Even if you're not taking their items, they can't do what they want, and so you should only be killing them once. And if your question is, well, then why can they kill me back? I mean, it doesn't matter to you. You shouldn't be there anyway. And if they're a small nation, they shouldn't even be able to get to you. And if they do, well, then they've earned the point. And if it's between two nations of the same size, well, then it just becomes a bit of a different strategy game. You need to get your kills and then get out without getting killed back. It's not meant to support, it's not meant to have incredibly long raids and stuff on people's towns. If you want to have that kind of combat experience, that's what sieges are for. And so I know that's not exactly what everyone wants, but again, it's about striking a balance between allowing wars and combat to be a thing without ruining players' experience who aren't as interested in some of that stuff. Now,
Yeah,
all the stuff.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, continue.
And again, everything on Atlas is going to move in the direction of what the community wants. And we know that the community now wants the ability to go to war and have fun with it, but also the ability to not have to worry about heavy consequences of PvP and being severely punished by it. So for the foreseeable future, we are going to keep it that way. Now, if people have suggestions about a different way to deal with it that preserves that balance, feel free to throw it in the forums. I'm always curious to see what people's opinions on it. And Aya, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is irrelevant during sieges, correct? Like,
yeah, it's just irrelevant during sieges.
Yes.
Sieges is
So
an entirely different monster.
if you want to kill someone over and over, siege them, and then
Yeah.
you can kill them over and over.
Yeah. But yeah. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. That's a good point. All right, and if you guys have more questions about specifically that, of course, feel free to post them. All right. Will there be lore-based items, such as
I can take
dungeon
this next
loot
one.
with lore text, RP items, also addition of current event items, like an event giving lore items out at random, or maybe a helmet that has the name of old player, Fallen Kings?
Yeah.
Go for
So
it.
we've kind of at least I've tried to start to do this with recent RP events. We gave out items, and by lore items, we're talking about kind of visual things. We want to give out cool items players can display to show that they were at a certain event. When we start giving out items that do things in game, or items that are usable in combat, items aid you because they're magic or this or that, as cool as they are for the players who got them, it starts to unbalance things for players who join later down the road, and you have to go, oh, sorry, you can just never get this item. So we're definitely in favor of giving out cool lore items for players during events. It's something that I should have started a lot earlier. Just recently started the last event. I will definitely be continuing to do it at future lore events, of which we will have quite a few more of. You will definitely get cool, custom, unique things, display items from showing up to certain events. Or, if they do some sort of gameplay thing, they're fun little mechanics that don't, help you in sieges or something, get the scales. But just more of like I was. Yes, we'll definitely be better at giving items for RP event in the future.
So I'll answer this next question because it ties into some stuff that I've talked about. Could dungeon armor, etc., be character bound? Feel if you die during a war in the world, you could get it back for a cheaper fee of gems, something like that. So one thing we may do is make them a little bit cheaper. I know that they're some of the most expensive items in the game right now, and while they're good, they're not always better than some of the armors you can make. So perhaps we'll make them cheaper, but we probably won't do anything to make them automatically soulbound. Obviously, of course, I answered a soulbound question earlier, which could be one way you could make it easy to get back. And also remember, when you die fighting other players, you shouldn't be losing items. Or at least you should lose very few. And if you've got like any random junk in your inventory, the chances that you'd lose your armor should be basically zero. And so, yeah, you shouldn't really be losing it except to PvE, and that's only in the overworld. And hopefully, if you're wearing a powerful armor, that'll be less likely to happen. And in that very, very specific case, for now, we're not going to do anything, but we will add some options in the future, either to make them cheaper or some possible future enchants that will address them. Growth restriction bug fix. Will trees and Dream Isles be fixed? Spruce naturally grows, but you can't plant spruce. I assume there are things like that in different biomes. Yeah, there are some tree problems that I have noticed, and I am going to address those eventually. I'm still trying to track out exactly what's wrong, because this bug didn't exist for a while, or at least nobody noticed it for like 6 months, and then all of a sudden people noticed it again. However, I never made any changes to the plugin in that time, so a little bit confused on that one. But I mean, I've had enough reports that I believe it's happening. I just need to figure out what's actually going on. Alright, next one. Misk, an enchant location you can go to pay a small fee and recover all lost items upon death. Yes, I mean, we could do something like that. Again, we haven't discussed it too much, so I won't say anything about too much, but maybe we'll add something like that. But of course, that would mean that those items can't drop normally on the map, and so it's just it's something that we'd have to discuss as a dev team and see if it's what we want to do. We don't want dying to be completely inconsequential, though. Like, dying should actually be a thing that means something, so that players don't just go around dying not caring what they're doing, right? Like, it should actually have some consequences. But I can definitely understand the point of view that losing everything on you is a little bit too extreme. Alright, next one. This is a magic question. Are there any plans toward making magic spell words stealable from renamed magic spell books? That sounds like a tier question.
No.
There you go. No.
Alright, easy.
Will there be more instruments in the future? Yes, there will be. When we get to 1.16, we're going to get a lot of new sounds, and we will have new instruments. So that will become a thing. World building. Will the main island ever be expanded? Are there plans to expand the world? So we're not going to expand the Athera map directly. That's it's actually just it's not quite possible with the tools that we currently have. However, we can create new islands and sub areas that you can travel to. And again, just one more feature that's so far in the future we don't have concrete plans, and we did bring it up originally, is something like event islands. Something that Atlas had a long time ago that were flawed but cool that we would be interested in bringing back in the future. And yeah, those are essentially just new islands with new things and new tasks and events and abilities and stuff that can go on there. So that will eventually happen. But I can't really give you a time for that stuff. But yes, there will be more land to explore, and of course, eventually there's going to be a Nether too. There's definitely plans to give you guys more places and stuff to explore.
Yeah. From a world building standpoint, Athera is the continent that you guys know on Atlas, plus Nauru, which is not part of Athera. There are other parts of Athera that will be released in the form of, like Ajax said, other islands, other areas. They will be other worlds outside of Athera, but they will be for sure.
Alright. Yeah, cool. Next question. Will there be a system where you can locally mute a specific player from talking on global channel? I don't know. Can anybody confirm or deny if /mute works for muting a player?
It should.
I mean, if
that's just staff. That's just a staff command, and that does it globally for everyone.
Yeah, okay, so we can definitely add some sort of command or something that will give you the ability as a player to make it so that you don't have to listen to another player. Just kind of mute them for yourself. And we can definitely add something like that in the future, if it's something that players want. Oh yeah, it's /ignore. That's probably the right word for it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we can add something like that. Let's see here. Magic skill updates. What about magic items that have qualities like smithing that may gain multiple uses or greater effects? So something that may gain uses or greater effects. Expand on that a little bit more. Like, because if you're basically looking at a suggestion for a new attribute on items, write up a forum post about it. We are always looking for new cool ideas.
I think they mean more like being able to have smeltery materials in magic wands and stuff. I think, at least.
In that case, Tyr and I have discussed it, but it is difficult to make that work well. But we will look. We have talked about it, and it's something that's on the table. But I really can't give you any more information than that because it's still just not very concrete yet.
No. I can give the next couple here.
Okay.
Will fast travel to player nations ever exist? This is a good question. This is actually something we have discussed in the past. One of our plans that I think we've probably brought up with players in the past is that one of our landmark/citizen combos that would be unlockable for a town would be an airship tower, and by extension, an airship captain, which is an NPC that would let you pay money to fly to an NPC town, and the amount of that money would be based on the block, as all fast travel is.
Yeah.
The amount of money that you would pay would be based on the block distance between your nation and that town. We, in favor of, or I guess instead of focusing on that, we ended up releasing the Obelisk Shard to allow players to at least teleport to the closest capital that they could. However, that doesn't mean we've completely thrown this idea out. They definitely can exist in the same world. It's something that is not off the table for sure. But it would be something that would need balancing, one, and two, require some work, because there's obviously a lot of back end things related to figuring out where your town is, figuring out where the closest town is. Does it work with NPC capitals? Is it all 18 NPC towns? It's on the table for sure. Something we're actively, or have actively been talking about. But it's under that list of things that is not in the immediate priority. However, this is something that players, it's something you guys really want. They're like, this would be a game changer. Oh my God, absolutely. Definitely, post a forum post to let us know. We're obviously open. And that kind of segues into the next question, which is shard selection that lets you change destination to other NPC towns, and maybe it works that way both. I'll actually defer it here.
So
comes a little bit more under balancing shard.
We are not going to be doing that, and the reason for that is, I want to have that selection aspect, like Io just talked about the airship captain and the airship tower, right? Yeah, that's the landmark there. I kind of want that to be the main thing. The Obelisk Shard is supposed to be a really cheap, really early game solution to getting out of your town, or getting to an NPC town and back very, very quickly. So for that reason, I am not going to be implementing any sort of selection GUI for shards. That will be once the airship captain is out. That is going to allow you to kind of travel between your towns. I do want to go into a little bit of depth on the airship captain, because I have done a little bit of designing on him. Basically, how it's going to work is you're going to be able to set up routes, quote unquote, between your nation's towns and your allies' nation's towns, with the diplomacy system. That's basically anybody that you're in an alliance with, or anybody that is a vassal to you, or if they are your overlord, whatever. So with that being the case, you'll be able to travel there, but like Io said, it's going to be a portion of that block distance, and that's going to be the cost on a daily basis. And that'll, also be calculated with your, it's currently named taxes, nation taxes. That's the incorrect term. It should be nation upkeep. But yeah.
Cool.
This next one is directed specifically to me, so I'll answer it. The pickaxe. So the question is something about a pickaxe Io needs to fix. Not really sure about this one. This is the pickaxe that you get from the quest. For those of you that have done the mining quests in Bezwin, you turn in a bunch of gems and you get a pickaxe. And originally, back in, I think it was beta, that axe gave fortune and mending. 2 enchants that no longer exist on our server, because they are a bit powered. There's actually one other item that falls in the category of a quest reward item that was balanced prior to us balancing our enchantments, and that is Winston's Firestar. Those of you who have done the Oakhurst quest line near Talaria, where you go north of Talaria, you find the river first, you investigate, you start in the fire. the reward from that quest is a sword that originally gave. I always forget the name of it. The fire enchant, the thing that's your
Fire
sword.
aspect.
Yeah, there it is. Fire aspect. And it no longer does that. Fire aspect is something we've removed. It's unfortunately a bit jankety. So those two items specifically, I need to revisit. Warpo, you reached out to me about the Fortuna's pickaxe item specifically, and I will definitely be reworking that quest reward. Specifically on that, however, I know it'd be cool to have something where you give a whole bunch of, mining items and you get like a unique legendary item that does something unique, like it chops a bunch of, a 3x3 grid of stone or something like that. The reality is we could add something like that, but very likely we will not add it to that quest because, like our other legendary items like Carrick Saber and the grappling hook, we want legendary items to have their own sort of unique quest lines that are not so much, give me 10 stone, I'll give you this, or like give me 5,000 diamonds, this, because that's boring. If we have an item that's unique and that it does something that only exists really on Atlas, like the grappling hook, then we want that to have its quest line that sort of benefits that. So very likely I will nerf the requirements that players have to give, that like the number of items that players have to actually turn in to that quest. So instead of turning in 16 diamonds, 16 emeralds, 32 iron, and all these crazy things, you'll turn in a lot less, get a pretty good pickaxe. You'll turn in all those things, and you'll get a pretty good pickaxe and a shitload of gems to compensate you for the items that you did. And in addition to that, we'll focus on working on a legendary item that does something really cool, like mining a particular, larger than one section, gives you extra drops, or something that's really and unique, but we will add that to an additional quest line that is a bit, more fun than just give me this, give me this, give me this.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, next one on here. Any possibility for summonable mobs that can be used for events? Somebody needs to go explore magic more. That is already a thing. Will it be expanded on to add things like withers? Probably not, but we'll definitely add some additions. I did get a fun idea for withers summoning, but I won't share that here. But yeah, and there's tons of possibilities. As you've heard, Tyr is planning to make updates to magic. Specifically COD magic only. That's the only thing that'll get expanded on.
That's the only magic on our list. Yeah. I'll take this next one. To what extent will resource pack cover? Will it be just custom items, or will there be normal block? Yes, if we do end up doing a resource pack, which is obviously has always been the plan, if we are able to do it, it will definitely involve custom items, quest items. It'll involve, there was a point in time where we had different textures for all the different smeltery armors and smeltery kits and tannery, hides, that. We would love to get to that point again, but if we do end up doing a texture pack, we will do it right. We'll have not only vanilla items, we'll have our Atlas custom items, and it will have sounds, it'll have ambient noises for towns, it'll, if we do it, we'll definitely, and it will include all those things for sure.
Yeah. Alright, lore world building trials. What is the lore behind the Infinite Dungeon Trials? Find out and update soon. T already answered that one. Alright, next one. Will mythic loot be worked into smeltery and tannery? The answer is yes. Another thing that has to go with smeltery and tannery is that with the declassification of recipes, we no longer need to restrict ourselves to fairly obtainable materials so that it's easier to guess the recipes. We could have made the recipes impossible to guess from the beginning, but that wouldn't have been any fun. But now that the guessing game is gone, we can make the materials that go into it more interesting. Now, it's not to say that we're going to make every single ingot super, super difficult to get. That won't be the case. We will be making reasonable substitutions, if any, for existing recipes, and maybe use some interesting stuff in future recipes. But we're not looking to make it more costly. if that's what people are worried about. Because we already think that Smeltery is a fairly costly system, and we don't want to necessarily increase that cost anymore. As a matter of fact, you might see things like the drops from mythic mobs replacing like the diamonds in the recipe as opposed to something else in the recipe. But yeah. Another one. Can the Masterwork armors and weapons have an orange or higher tier enchant glow, or maybe it changes by each smithing tier? We'll definitely have some way to distinguish them, so that players know that they are dealing with Masterwork armors and stuff like that. But you should also, if you've got a good eye, be able to notice it, because we'll have an extra attribute on it, and that attribute will be very apparent. But yeah. Can we use beacons now? No. There is no way to obtain beacons legitimately in-game. They're currently not supposed to be used by players. We will confiscate them if we find them. We will add them in the future, but not at this moment. And the main reason we're not allowing people to use the ones that they get illegitimately is because that punishes the players that are following the rules and not stealing them from places they shouldn't be. So again, we're taking them because we don't want to punish the players who are following the rules.
Yeah, and to sort of add on to what Ajax mentioned is that we have a specific plan to work the sort of general idea beacons into the server as a landmark, and that's something I won't really get into it. But the reason that we don't have it is because we hate beacons and everything that they stand for. It's just that we have a cooler idea of how we want to put them into the server. Wait. And do it in a more Atlas customized way than just saying like vanilla beacons here.
Yeah. Alright. Will crossbows ever come into play, and will they be made more interesting? The answer is yes. We haven't been able to discuss it too much, but this is just one of those other things that's further down the list. An entire list of Fletchery reworks, now that we have access to crossbows and some better ideas of what we can manipulate with bows. There's actually some really fun new ideas for bows. That are going to play very nicely with the new Tannery Smeltery updates that are coming as well. And it should allow somebody who really wants to focus on being an archer to actually be an archer, and not just make them additional toolkit to whatever you're working on. But again, not too many details on that because we're still working things out. But that is the plan. Will enchant books ever be able to be bought or sold in NPC towns? It's not a bad idea. We probably won't make it so you can buy them, just because we don't want we want people to trade enchant books, but we may make it so you can sell them, like your extra ones that you don't care about. But we would definitely prefer that players trade and sell enchant books to each other than just shops. We know we have a lot of shops, but we do want some items to be things that players trade and sell amongst each other because they're difficult to get. So things like enchant books, things like, masterwork ingots from different stuff that comes out of the new Smeltery system, or masterwork hides. Those kinds of things we would prefer that players trade with each other. Alright, next one. Players' stores in NPC towns. Pay a rent and be able to sell your items. This probably won't be coming anytime near in the future. It's significantly more difficult than you would expect to set this kind of system up. And while we have some systems to enable player trading, we have more than enough statistics to show that it's just not a very popular activity. And while we're going to do things to try and boost it, it's currently just not something that players themselves are super interested in. And so we're not going to spend the time on a complicated, at least on the back-end system, that takes a lot of time, when we could do things that we know players are excited about. So this isn't currently in the future for Atlas, but who knows? If players get really into trading with each other, then maybe it will get added to the list. But yeah. Next one, nations gooification. With the updated plot claiming system, how is that going to work with nation taxes? Oh yeah, so I answered this question. Proc taxes will be changing and going away. Trade rights from diplomacy should be giving small offsets of taxes and stuff like that. Plus, with a lot of the other soon-to-come shop fixes and reworks and stuff that might happen, there's going to be lots of ways to make money. It's we're not worried. Like right now, players have more money than they need in general. Players don't really have too much of an issue having money, and for the players that are having trouble with money, most of them have far more space than they need. So we're not too worried about getting more money into the system. All right, so player shops.
I'll take this one.
Okay, go for it.
So this particular issue is with one item and one item only. Brewery. And brews and booze, basically. This is an issue with the brewery system. Currently, as it stands, how brewery works is basically puts a special negative regeneration potion effect on that item stack, which is unique to that particular item, which means that it cannot be sold in bulk. If you've tried with any other item in the game, it will allow you to sell multiple of that particular item. In fact, that's what entirely makes alcohol completely incompatible with both the admin shop system as well as the player shop system. This will be fixed when we get around, when brewery is updated in 1.16.
Yeah, and just a reminder, it's not going to be updated when we move to 1.16. It's going to have to be fixed after we move to 1.16. Yeah. I'm just making the distinction because I don't want to get people's hopes up that when 1.16 comes out, this will magically be fixed. It's going to require a lot of time and effort to specifically address brewery. So a brewery update after 1.6 will happen, and that's when it will be fixed. Okay, next one. And by the way, guys, we are just at the end of questions, but we're also just about out of time. So if you guys have any other legitimate questions, throw them out right now so we can get them down. But we're almost done. Looks like we timed things out fairly well this time. Anyway, weapons, tools, and whatnot items that have different styles. Pickaxes, hammers. Oh, okay. Interesting. So adding...
it's funny. I would throw out there, how many players know about the ability to create tridents and sickles? And I know I'm asking this to a chat where players can actually answer in voice chat. So I would encourage players to answer in the text chat and say to the server. We've kind of started this a bit. They're not really worked into, they're explained, but you can make them. Tridents and sickles are two types of Atlas. Well, tridents exist normally, but you can craft them on Atlas. And sickles exist as another type of melee weapon that you can create, which I think is what this question is kind of getting at, which is custom items that you can create that do different things than normal sword, axe, bow, vanilla things that you can create in Minecraft. We love that idea.
One of the big things,
we need to work them in better. Yeah, go ahead, Aiden.
Yeah, one of the big things that revolves around this, by the way, guys, is some of you may have noticed that when you craft a weapon, there is not just attack and attack speed, there's reach on each one of those items. Items have a different level of reach. They can attack things further or closer to you than other items. And so that is how we've created more items and more variability. And so make sure you pay attention to that reach on items. You can, sickle, for example, has a very, very small reach, but it has an incredibly fast attack speed. So if you get up close to somebody, you can smack them a whole bunch, but something like a trident has a much higher reach, but a much slower attack speed. So there's a lot of give and takes for different weapons in that category. So that's how we've added our RPG-style weapons. We aren't looking to add any more right now. We feel between swords, axes, sickles, and tridents, we've got a nice little variety there. There's not a million different types of weapons, but I mean, that's all for melee. We're going to have, with Fletchery, there's a few different kinds of bows, and with the addition of the crossbow, there'll be another ranged option. We've got magic, so we feel we have quite a lot of different ways for people to fight. We're still looking to perfect them, make them all stand on their own a little bit better, but we're not looking to add specifically any more melee weapons to the game. All right, next one. Add the ability to make an embassy in another player's town. I mean, somebody wants to take this. I feel like we're not going to add anything official.
So I would, ask whoever asked this question, post to the forums if you have a follow-up. What, from a mechanic standpoint, what would you want to see out of a player embassy? Because you should technically be able to, through guest permissions, be able to already build a player's town. Outside of the aesthetic building, having your nation's embassy within your allied nation, is there some sort of mechanical gameplay aspect that you want to see out of having an in all of your allies' nations? And we're open. That's an open-ended question, of course. Like, we would love to hear ideas of what would that be? Because that could be, you know, either part of the ambassador, that could be its own citizen. I mean, like, open to ideas. At the time being, it seems like embassies are just kind of like a visual, like, oh, we're allied. I'm going to build a building within the confines of your town to show that we're allied. But it's not like I can place citizens or landmarks or anything. But let us know if you have ideas. Open, post it, so we'll check it out.
Yeah. All right, and so we're almost done with this list. Clarification. This is for Tier, actually. So this is clarification on that player shops thing that we were talking about, brewery. Apparently, players are having trouble selling stacks of items like bread as well.
I will look into that.
Got it? Perfect. And the final question before we move on to the meme questions, the fun ones at the end here. When will Alpha Wolf Pets Republic come back to the Mythic Traders?
I'll take this one. This is coming back shortly. Of things to fix. The reason, for those of you that know, that it's removed, there was a bit of a feasible way where mobs that we never intended a particular mythic item were dropping them, and so they were obtainable in ridiculous amounts, I'll say. So they are coming back for sure. We had to remove them for the time being because all of this craziness happened while I happened to be on vacation. Normally I'd be able to fix it a lot quicker, but I was away and on a crap top at the moment, so I was like, oh my god, just shut it down. They will be back for sure. Frozen Hearts as well will be back, which is another mythic item that we had to remove because we found an exploit. But don't worry, you know, our intention is that every individual mythic mob will have its own loot that drops. Wolves will get their pelts or equivalent sort of mythic, sellable mythic loot item back, as well as frozen corpses. But yeah, that's why they were removed, and they'll be back soon.
Yep. And just tack on to the end of that one. The reason it wasn't just immediately addressed is because along with all our big projects, we also have a whole bunch of smaller projects and little things that we're working on. And there's a whole bunch going on all the time. And so sometimes something like that just doesn't quite get added yet because we're working on other stuff at the time. And obviously, of course, as hopefully everyone knows, this isn't our full-time job. We do this for fun, just like you guys play for fun. So we only got so much time in the day, but I promise we try and use that time as effectively as possible. Anyway, with that, let's dive straight into the meme Q&A. This is the little part at the end. Yeah, this is the important questions. This is the fun stuff at the very end of the Status server, where we have people ask questions that have nothing to do with Atlas, just so we can all have a little bit of fun and laugh together. And to start it off, do any of the elders have pets? If so, pictures. So yeah, I think all of us have pets, and so
yeah, I think we
we're
all have
so used to getting this question that we all take pictures beforehand of posts when you guys inevitably ask this question.
My dog is in State of the Server Discord chat. That's my dog. His name's Neptune. He is a little bit. He turned 2 in January of 2020. That is him in our front yard. Yes, I literally live in the woods, so yeah. That's him, and it was a nice day out. So he's a little bit of a derp, but he's an excellent. He's a good boy.
And I just posted a picture of Ivan. I took a picture of him just like probably an hour ago, hanging out in the kitchen with me because I was cooking. Well, actually, I wasn't cooking. I was just getting pizza, and he was very, very interested in what I was doing.
It's up now. This is Monty with his pizza and taco toys. He loves specifically food toys, and also his elephant. But yeah, that's Monty.
The first picture I sent was taken yesterday or 2 days ago, where my dog was not liking the fact that I was stealing most of her bed, but oh no, she's not in here. Usually she's a 20-pound little thing, but she likes to take up the entirety of my bed, so I decided that Karma was a dish best served cold. And then second picture is of both my dogs, where my little dog likes to use my bigger dog as a pillow. So yeah.
Talk making me laugh. That's a good one. All right, yeah. All got dogs. All great pups. All right. Does my sword design look too much like an amped netherite sword? We'll need a picture. I think Aid asked that question though, so unfortunately, I think we'll have to skip that one. I don't know what these next questions are. I'm gonna skip a few of them. Do the Vaulters call Templars say Deus Vault? No, they don't believe in such puny religions. They've got better plans. Can one Naru faction be Terran's body pillows? No,
Please,
I think
no.
we're gonna pass on that one. That's
Maybe-
that's more
maybe
Terran than anybody needs.
Maybe a real money shop.
I
Um,
never agreed with this.
You don't get a say, Taryn.
Apparently not.
Who of the elders has the worst sleep schedule?
I vote
On
tier.
average, probably me.
Yeah, I vote tier for sure.
If you're including
Yep.
Terran, then it's Terran.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually true. If we're
yeah,
including
that
Terran.
includes Terran.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, I'm an Australian and an American at the same time. And so if you guys want to figure that out, go ahead. Yeah, I've straight up forgotten to sleep. I think I did that on Monday night. Yeah, this past Monday night, I just straight up forgot to sleep. I was like, man, I'm just gonna power through and finish this trials thing. So that's exactly what I did. So I just forgot to sleep. So that happened.
Which is awesome, by the way. When tier doesn't sleep, the rest of us benefit.
Yeah, it's true.
Just like
All
most
right.
devs.
Can we please have a way to eat dirt and sand? Yeah, T had the right answer.
But
Well, why though? Elders, pineapple on pizza or not? I just ate it today, so love me or hate me, I love it.
what's wrong with you people? Pineapple's delicious, pizza's delicious. Put them together, it's delicious.
I personally, I only like pineapple on pizza if it's also accompanied by jalapenos. I personally
that
like
too.
Interesting. That was
jalapenos,
the sweetness.
pineapples on pizza, but it specifically has to be a thin crust pizza.
Yeah, I just got a
Oh,
thin crust
yeah.
pineapple pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, there we
Delicious.
go.
My favorite pizza place in the world is in northern Massachusetts. Thin crust pizza place that is the goddamn best pizza ever created by man. But yeah, thin crust for life.
All right, well, there you go. I think we just made some enemies, but that works.
Everyone's gonna quit the server now.
Io, where did you go on vacation?
I went on vacation to Colorado because my girlfriend and I and our incredibly cute dog are moving there. And that is why a couple weeks. But yeah, we're moving to Colorado the next few months, which for those of you Americans know, is a lot less fucked by coronavirus as LA, which is where I currently live. So yeah, we're going there. Really cool area of like central northern Colorado. So yeah, should be fun.
All right, next one. Elders, is a hot dog a sandwich, and why? All right,
Ooh.
hot dog is
Did
sandwich.
Long
No,
ask this question?
a hot dog is not a sandwich. It's taco. It's got
God
bun
damn
on
it,
three
Ethan.
sides.
Ooh,
Now,
it's a taco.
This
That's
I
an
can
interesting
get
theory.
behind.
I actually have a video. There is a video that describes how this works, and it is an official source. And maybe I'll link it in off topic, and you guys can learn how it works. But I'll leave that one for later. But yeah, no, it's a taco. How was your day? Wholesome question for the elders. They need to have a good day. Well, this lag has ruined my day almost entirely trying to figure that out. And so Tyr and I are going to probably spend a lot of time tonight knocking that one out. So,
Yeah. So remember
is
how
fun.
remember how I
server.
was saying that I forget to sleep sometimes? I know for a fact tonight that I'm not gonna be sleeping. Yeah. So we're gonna try and figure this lag issue out, but that's been boning me for the entire day. Because I've been looking into it, and so far I've come up with nothing. but we'll see.
We've got
by
some
the way-
plans that's going to require a restart tonight, so there may be a little bit extra server maintenance tonight, but we're definitely going to figure out what the server lag is. But yeah, so
Yeah. T's answer, I hear that. You want to go play GTA 5? If you've never played it before, that game is
I've never
absolutely
touched
amazing.
it.
Oh my god, it's fun. The campaign in that game is great.
Yeah, I can't wait.
And the
I'm gonna,
multiplayer is
play it.
fun. Yeah, but yeah, also ripped my wallet because of Steam sale. I picked up the entire like Wolfenstein reboot series, so ripped my wallet. My day's pretty good. It's been pretty busy because we had a creative team meeting, followed by an admin prep state of the server meeting, followed by state of the server. So I've been in calls for the last 4 hours and 6 minutes, but I do love doing this, so it's actually been a pretty good day. So yeah, that's my day.
all right. Will Taryn ever become an elder? No, because he's far too smart to volunteer for such a thing.
Yeah, Karen's smarter than all of us.
Is cereal a salad or a soup? Man, you guys have some weird food questions. My girlfriend says
Salad
it's
or
a soup,
soup?
so it's a soup.
Nah. Salad. That's a lot of dressing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I would say soup.
Did you
too,
just
I
say a
guess, was my
salad
only
with a
two
lot of
choices.
dressing? What?
Yeah. No.
I mean-
I would say it's a soup. If you're calling it a salad, that's too much dressing. But it's definitely a soup. If those are my only two choices.
God, if your salads look like cereal, then you're definitely doing salads wrong, man.
You're not having enough greens.
You've got way too much ranch on your salad. All right. Any must? Ooh, this is a fun one. I like this
Ooh,
question.
good one.
And by the way, I think we need to make this the last question. We've already been
Yeah.
here for 2 hours, and it's time to let everyone, or at least all our Europeans, go to sleep since it's already basically morning for them. All right. So T's response: he's playing Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain, despite the negative reviews. For me, my must-have games that I've been playing, have played, that are on sale. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. Been playing that game since I was like 6 years old. They just created a new version. It's on sale for $15, and I am constantly playing that game in the background. That is a fun game. Another one I've been playing a whole bunch recently, Civ 6 is 75% off, also for $15. Been playing a lot of that one. That's also a very fun game. Those are the only two ones I'll put on there since, we need to. I could go on for hours with that, so I'll end it there.
Second Civ 6. Civ 6 is amazing. That game is really just fantastic. Is it on sale right now? If it is,
Yep,
definitely,
75%
definitely
off.
pick it up. Oh, it's great. And all the expansions are great. Gathering Storm is a lot of fun because they added like climate change to it, basically, which is a
that's
lot
been
of fun. Yeah, and a lot more like diplomatic ways to win, which is also fun. I mentioned this before, but the whole like rebooted Wolfenstein series is on sale, so I picked that up recently. That's what I've been playing a shitload of. I don't know if this is on sale right now, but Subnautica is worth picking up, even if it's full price, because that game is amazing. What else is on sale? The Batman. I feel like the Batman art series goes on sale every time there's a Steam sale. I'm sure it's on sale right now, but definitely pick that up if you like action adventure games. It's really, really good. And then also I picked up Command and Conquer Red Alert 3 because I'm old and I grew up with Command and Conquer Red Alerts 1 and 2, and those
Same.
games are amazing. And 3 is a lot of fun, and like the celebrity actors they got for their cinematics are a lot of fun. If you want to see Tim Curry totally overacting, it's the best game ever. Definitely check that out. Now, there's so many good things on Steam sale, but yeah, those are my big ones right now.
All right, Tier, what are yours?
Let's see. Well, I'm more of an FPS genre player, so my games all kind of revolve around that. So, probably the number one that just got onto Steam is Titanfall 2. Excellent fucking game. Respawn Entertainment has just done an awesome job on Titanfall 2. If you guys are looking for free-to-plays, my two favorites have to be Warframe and Valorant. Valorant I've just had a ton of fun with my friends, and then Warframe is just my go-to like mindless game. So whenever it's a beautiful game. Warframe is just a beautiful free-to-play. The movement in that game is like nothing I've seen ever. It's just an excellent game. Digital Extremes DE has done an excellent job on that game. Other than that, I loved Borderlands. Borderlands 1, 2, and 3. I don't know about the other ones. I haven't played any of the other ones, but I definitely enjoyed Borderlands 3. I think I got it on the EGS as soon as it came out just because I was super hyped for it, but I think I put in I don't know, like 200 hours or something like that within like the first month. For a single player game, that's a lot for me. I usually stick to multiplayer games, so it was those are kind of my recommendations at least, so definitely check those out. Cool.
Alrighty, and with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day for State of the Server. Thank you everyone for joining us, especially our Europeans who have been up super late. But
you guys
thanks to everybody.
Maniacs, and we love you.
But thanks to everyone for showing up.
Quick reminder from Bork. We've got the Reddit post that was posted in advertisements.
Oh yeah.
Do it for Bork. Toss us an upvote.
Yep. Stuff like that
honestly,
definitely helps
the
us.
Most effective way to get new players, by far. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That was it.
Yeah, that's a good one though. I totally agree. It's one of our biggest ways to get new players is through Reddit. That's one of our top communities where we advertise. So if people can throw us an upvote there, if you're having fun and join the server, that is honestly, it helps way more than you can imagine. So we thank anyone who can do that. But with that, thanks everyone for showing up to State of the Server. We, as we mentioned, this is something we do in our spare time too, and we do it because it's so much fun to be able to build a community and create things that everyone can enjoy playing and using on the server. And so just thanks to everyone for being a part of the community. You guys are the reason we do this. It's a whole bunch of fun, and we can't thank you guys enough for joining us on the crazy adventure that is Eclipse.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
Everyone.